Welcome, or welcome back to my channel, BBarbstat&fact. I'm Brian. Let's get to it. So this video, I'm going to be recapping the 2006-2007 Indianapolis Colts, the year that we won the Super Bowl, or that they won the Super Bowl. So basically, I'm going to do this in a two-parter. So I'm going to recall all the scores here that are depicted on my board, and then I'm going to explain and elaborate what happened in each and every one of these games. So week one, and by the way, these scores, I didn't Google any of these, by the way. These are just by memory. I have a gifted memory as far as when I recall, scores and all that stuff. That's why I started this channel. So week one of the 2006 season, the Colts played the New York Giants, and the Colts were victorious, 26-21. The special significance in this game, it was the first game that featured both brothers on Sunday Night Football, as it was Peyton Manning and Eli Manning squared off on prime time. Colts with a narrow victory. Peyton with one touchdown pass. He was 25-41, 276 yards, a touchdown and an interception in the game. Colts victorious. Good start to the season. Week two, Colts victorious over the Houston Texans, making that 9-0 against the Houston Texans all time. Divisional game, Colts victorious 43-24. Peyton Manning throwing for 3 touchdown passes, 400 yards, and it was rookie running back Joseph Adai's first touchdown reception of his career. Next game, the following week, Colts victorious over another divisional opponent, Jacksonville, 21-14. Peyton Manning not having quite the prolific day. He was 14 of 31, 219 yards, touchdown. He didn't throw any picks, though. Colts down 7-0 in this game. Jacksonville really running a number on this team. In fact, every single opponent in the regular season did damage to this team. Colts tied the game midway through the second quarter as returner Terrence Wilkins runs it all the way back for a touchdown. Third quarter begins by Peyton Manning finding a wide open Dallas Clark, 14-7. And then Manning in the fourth quarter with a bootleg rushing touchdown that just fools the whole defense. Jacksonville scoring late, but Colts victorious. Very tough game. Jacksonville almost running for just over 200 yards. About 191 rushing yards in this game. So Colts victorious. We're 3-0. The following week against the Jets, Colts victorious 31-28. Back and forth game. Leon Washington for the New York Jets, running rampant. Cedric Benson. Peyton Manning, ultimately the game winning rushing touchdown at the end. Week 5, Colts victorious, 14-13. Really tough game against the Tennessee Titans. So in this game featured rookie Heisman winner Vince Young from USC. Tennessee was up 10-0 in this game. Really ran a number with Liddell White. Vince Young with a touchdown, rushing touchdown himself. Tennessee really doing a good job in this game, keeping the Colts off the field. Eventually, the Colts scored a couple touchdowns in the second half. Pull away Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. Colts very fortunate to come away with the victory, but give the Tennessee Titans, they were really an up-and-coming team at this point. But Colts pulling out a narrow margin. Colts with a bye in week 6, so guaranteed no win, guaranteed no loss. Week 7, against the Washington Redskins, now Washington Commanders. Colts victorious 36-22. Peyton Manning throwing 4 touchdown passes in this game. Colts trailing 14-13 at halftime, and then in the second half, they outscored Washington by a margin of 23-8. Very good comeback. Week 8, Colts victorious over the Denver Broncos, 34-31. The Broncos absolutely run rampant all over the Colts in this game, rushing for a combined 227 yards between Tatum Bell and Mike Bell. Every time this team would get the ball, they would run 12 yards, 15 yards, 10 yards. They're just gashing this Colts defense. But thankfully, we have Peyton Manning on the other side. Just over 2 minutes to go in the game. It's tied at 31. Peyton leads him all the way down the field. Sets up Adam Vinatieri, who is the most clutch kicker in the history of the NFL. And the Colts win. They land up winning the game. The Colts are 7-0 and undefeated. And then on to week 9. Colts win 27-20 in Foxborough, making it their second consecutive win in Foxborough and their second consecutive win against the New England Patriots. Colts finally starting to overcome some demons. Highlights in this game, Tom Brady throws 4 interceptions. Not his greatest game. And what was even more notorious in this game was that one-handed catch by Marvin Harrison, dragging his feet, dragging the ball, possessing the ball. And really a stupendous catch. Colts victorious there. Buffalo, Indianapolis the next week. Colts victorious 17-16. Not a heck of a lot going on in this game. Peyton Manning threw a touchdown pass to Reggie Wayne. It was 17-16 with about 7 minutes to go. And the Colts get the ball back, and the Bills do not see the ball the rest of the game. Colts run out the clock. And here's week 11. Colts first loss, 21-14 to the Dallas Cowboys, or I like to call them Cowgirls. Dallas. This is the year when Tony Romo took over for the team. Peyton Manning throwing 2 interceptions in this game, and Marvin Harrison fumbling once. Made a few mistakes in this game, which ultimately cost him. The big difference in this game was Marion Barber in the fourth quarter. The Dallas Cowboys outscoring the Colts 14-0. Marion Barber with a couple of rushing touchdowns. So Colts dropped to 9-1. Still very much in control of the division. Still top of the league. Following week against Philadelphia, the Colts get back on track with a 45-21 blowout. In a game which saw Joseph Adai really break out. Rookie Joseph Adai really break out. He had 200-plus yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. Colts winning this game 45-21. And back to 10-1. The next 2 weeks, not so good results. Not some desirable results. Colts lose 20-17 to the Tennessee Titans. Colts had a 14-3 lead in this game. Tennessee battled their way back. Colts, again, making a couple mistakes. One of the early on highlights was Peyton Manning fighting Marvin Harrison for 80 yards down the field. But what really decided this game was Rob Baronis, the Tennessee kicker, kicking a 60-yard field goal at the gun to win them the game. And then the following week, in my favorite game of the year, the Colts get eviscerated 44-17 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars in this game run 375 rushing yards. No hyperbole. 375 rushing yards in this game. The first 2 plays from scrimmage, they were actually their first drive of the game, which saw them pinned inside their own 2-yard line. Rushed 68 yards one play, and then, 26 or 27 yards the next. Regardless, they scored 98 rushing yards in the first 2 plays. Actually, it was 68-yard run and a 30-yard run. A 68-yard run by Fred Taylor, and then a 30-yard run by Maurice Jones-Drew, who were the 2 running backs for the Jaguars. Colts just getting eaten alive on defense. Defense. David Garrard, their quarterback at the time, threw for under 100 yards. He didn't even need to throw one pass. 375 rushing yards, which was just... it was frustrating to watch. I had clicker TV. I was so tempted to do that the entire game. So the Colts now, after starting 9-0, have now dropped 3 of 4. They have now dropped out of first seed in the AFC. At this point, they're going to win their division. It's by a landslide. They're making the playoffs by a landslide. But as far as getting home field advantage and getting a first round bye, it's starting to look more bleak by the weeks. Following week on Monday Night Football, Colts recover 34-16, a game which saw Peyton Manning throw 4 touchdown passes. Colts back in the win column. The following week, oh, look at this one. Houston 27, Indianapolis 24. This marks the first time Houston was in the division. The Colts lose their first game to the Houston Texans in their franchise history. Up until this point, the Colts were 9-0 all time. I mean, the Texans had only been in the league. It's only their 5th year in the league. But it was the first time the Texans finally had won a game against the Colts. Ron Dane, their Houston running back at the time, ran for about 191 rushing yards. It was just running rampant all over them. And the following week, in the last game of the season, Colts win 27-22 over the Miami Dolphins. Peyton throwing a touchdown pass. Up until this point, now we're in the playoffs at a 12-4 record. We've now lost home field. We've now lost the first round bye. So the first and second seed went to San Diego, possessing the best record at 14-2. Baltimore having a 13-3 record. So those two teams with first round byes. San Diego with home field advantage. Colts got to go the path less traveled by. In every single one of these games during the regular season, although they possessed a 12-4 record, which is still pretty impressive, Colts allowed their opponent every single week during the regular season to score at least 100 rushing yards on them. They allowed a 100-yard rusher on them every single week. They had a league. They allowed 173 rushing yards per game during the regular season, which was last in the NFL. They had the 23rd ranked defense in the NFL that year, giving up 22.5 points a game. A lot of skepticism going into the playoffs. I was not too high on them, considering where they started. Even when they were 9-0 to start the season, they won 7 of their first 9 games by a touchdown or less. They averaged 26.7 points a game, which was second in the NFL. Not a big shocker there. But again, us having Peyton Manning, that's the difference, right? Good teams know how to win these games, and bad teams just don't know how to close. So they ultimately blow it in the end. In the wild card against the Kansas City Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs had the second best running back in the league in that season, just under LaDainian Johnson. They had Larry Johnson, who rushed for 1,756 rushing yards. I'm in my backyard that day, chipping balls, golf balls, in early January. It was a mild day. And these thoughts were circulating in my head. How many rushing yards is Larry Johnson going to run? Is he going to run? How many rushing yards are we going to give up today? 150, 200, 400 yards? I just was nervous as hell. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. And the Colts defense is going to fold. We're probably going to be out in the wild card again. Tony Dungy might get fired. Yada, yada, yada. The best head coach in the regular season can't get the job done. Best quarterback who can't win the big one. Yada, yada, yada. The narrative every season with this team. Colts win 23-8. Don't the Colts hold Larry Johnson to 32 yards rushing? 32 yards rushing. And 44 yards altogether for the game. Peyton Manning throws 3 interceptions. He threw 9 all season. So talk about irony upon irony. Colts victorious. They move on to play Baltimore in the second round, the divisional, which they won 15-6. It was a field goal contest. Adam Vinatieri kicking 5 field goals, ultimately being the difference. And then my favorite game of all time, the AFC Championship against the New England Patriots. And let's face it, if you want to get to the Super Bowl, Colts want to win the Super Bowl and get to the Super Bowl and ultimately win the Super Bowl, you got to get through these guys. They've been a powerhouse the last 4 or 5 years. At this point, they had won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, seeking to go to a 4th and 6th. Not a good start. not a good start to this game. Down 21-3. Asante Samuel, who was a Patriots cornerback at the time, picks off Peyton Manning for a pick six, interception for touchdown. It's 21-3 with 9 minutes and 25 seconds to go in this game. Colts get a field goal at the end of the half, get some momentum. They get the ball back in the second half, score a touchdown, force a quick 3-and-out, get the ball back, score another touchdown, and then get a 2-point conversion, tie the game. And eventually, late in the game, it was a seesaw battle afterwards. Joseph Adai scores a touchdown and puts the Colts on top 38-34. Just over a minute left. My heart is just pounding through my chest. Peyton Manning is on the sideline. Got over a minute left. But if it were any other ordinary quarterback, I'd say this game is over. But you have Tom Brady, and he's an anomaly upon anomaly. Tom Brady drives the ball all the way to midfield. Drops back. Looks for tight end Ben Watson. Marlon Jackson, who was our second-year safety at the time, intercepts Tom Brady. Colts are going to the Super Bowl. Confetti's raining. Peyton Manning looks up. Got a big smirk on his face. Finally beating this team. It was like winning the Super Bowl. It was like winning the Super Bowl. But this was the game, unfortunately, just to qualify to get in. Probably the greatest football game I've ever watched in my entire life. I actually did a prior video on this, if you want to check it out. And then in the Super Bowl, aside from kicking the ball to Devin Hester and him scoring a touchdown on the opening drive, Colts decisive win, 29-17. Wasn't really that close aside from that start. Devin Hester, which I explained in my last video, he was a rookie return man. He had 12 touchdown returns, either punt or kickoff. Probably the best special teams player in the year that year. Aside from that mistake in the monsoon, it was raining. The conditions were treacherous. It's just pouring away. Monsoon. And, yeah. So, yeah, they scored 427 points, second in the league. 360 points given up. 23rd in the league. But a lot of that was deceptive. A lot of that was due to running. The Colts really shored up their rush defense in the second half. They only allowed one game in the playoffs over 100 yards. And that's ultimately what got them their season turned around. Not that they were in jeopardy. I think they just needed to clean up their tackling. They just needed to execute and tackle better. The average offensive line in the NFL, defensive line, is about 350 pounds for that back then. They averaged about 290, so they're very light. So when they tackle, they're very fast up defensive line. So when they tackle and they're quick, and they execute. They're one of the best defenses in the NFL. The problem is sometimes you converge on a player fast, you miss a tackle, and then that leaves gaping holes. Anyway, the Colts victorious, winning the Super Bowl. It was faced a lot of adversity this season. Started off 9-0, ultimately finished 3-4, but ultimately got the grand prize in the end. So that's my story. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to click subscribe, like, and comment. Tell me what your opinions were about this game. Colts fans, Patriot fans, NFL fans, whatever, sports fans. Don't forget to tune in, and I'll talk to you later. And thank you for your support. I will be posting another video in the foreseeable future. As far as the YouTube Shorts goes, I've been posting a lot of Peyton Manning highlights lately. Those will be ongoing. The next in-person video, yet to be determined. But that's it for this one. Until next time.